Well, joining us now here on the program, something that we like to talk about quite a bit here on the show when it comes to your risk management is the emotion when it comes to your marketing plans and how to kind of take the emotion out of putting together your marketing plans and your risk management plans. Here to talk to us about that, walk us through things. We welcome in Eric Osterhaus, a risk management consultant for Pinion. Eric, great to have you on the show with us today, and I hope you're doing well.
I am doing well. I'm glad to be here. It's a topic I enjoy. So,
Well, let's dive into this topic a little bit here, Eric. And, thinking about just marketing in general and, you know, throw out the fact that we've had volatile markets here the last couple of years. Even if we didn't have such volatile markets, it's always an emotional thing. A lot of farmers they see the markets go up and down, and they're looking at their balance sheet, and just in general, it can be kind of stressful, can it, Eric?
well, it really can. And there's not too many industries in this world or jobs that people work where you get to see your paycheck go up and down on a day to day, minute by minute basis. And when you're talking about the health of your family farm and yourself, yeah, that makes it a very difficult thing that very few people in the world get to enjoy as much as we do here in the ag sector. So.
Well, I know you have some tips to help farmers and ranchers when it comes to their risk management and helping to kind of take the emotion out of things a little bit. I know you have like a top five. So let's go through those. Can you explain just the first tip that you have and some things to remember for farmers and ranchers?
Sure. And I don't have these particularly ordered in any certain order, but I'll just go through them. But the first thing is, and I think it's really important to really grasp this one and embrace it is we can't eliminate emotion in your selling. We can't. And marketing, just by its very nature, it is emotional. So again, our goal or the goal of good marketing really is to find ways to reduce emotion enough to a point where you can continue to move forward. Because unfortunately, we've all been there. Everybody's been in this place. I have been in my past life as well, where you get to the point with the markets that the emotion of it ties you up. And so the key is, I think the first key is to understand and plan for the fact that you are going to be emotional with your marketing decisions. And the key, though, is to find a way, a process to follow to help reduce that emotion to a point where you can still operate and move forward. That's the first key.
Yeah, kind of admitting to yourself that it's an emotional process and you're going to go through those emotions. That's kind of the takeaway I get from that, right, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. Plan for it, then it's not a surprise. We as human beings, you'll hear me say that a few times today, probably, but as human beings, we don't like being surprised too often. And so I think it helps us mentally before the year even gets started, the marketing year, is just to plan for that emotion, know that it's coming. At least, at the very least, you can tell yourself when it happens and you're spinning in a circle that, hey, I knew this day was coming. It's here, so I'm ready for it.
I know a couple of the things on your list as well. We can jump to these. You mentioned, planning and thinking about, everything being emotional. Well, obviously, planning, picking a plan, moving forward, knowing your input costs, your break evens, your bottom line. Those are important things as well here, Eric.
Yeah, that's probably the most basic. That's the first step with any marketing plan. And I know maybe in some cases, I'm just one of many consultants out there who've told everybody, hey, work a plan, plan your work, all that sort of story. But the fact is you really need to have a structured, preferred written plan as relates to your production, but also the cost of your operation. All of us are in ag because we love ag by and large. Most of us don't enjoy the business aspect of it as much as we enjoy the growing and producing part of it. And that's our greatest strength, but also our greatest weakness because too often we don't treat it enough as a business. And there are no long-term successful businesses that don't have written plans. And so that's the key step one.
Well, and thinking about those plans and picking one and continuing to move forward. I know throughout the year, folks can adjust their plans depending on the price on the market, et cetera, et cetera. But kind of having that plan and doing your best to stick to it and move forward, that's so important because I think we hear it time and time again. Folks get influenced by emotion and they just throw that plan that they worked on completely out the window, Eric.
Yeah, so often we've heard it, and you've probably heard it yourself, which is I said I was going to do X when Y occurred, and then Y occurred, and I did nothing. I got stopped, and so I think one of the keys, another key, when it relates back to your plan, is you need to share that. Most people need to share it. It needs to live somewhere else other than just residing within yourself. So sharing it with someone in the operation, a spouse, a mentor, a coach, a planner, something along those lines. I think that's really key, and you need to share it with someone who you trust enough, who is going to remind you of what the plan was, and that, hey, this is what you wanted, so let's do something here.
And that's when it comes down to, you mentioned this earlier, working with the right people. And to your point there, just being open and honest with whoever you're communicating with, whether it's your trusted advisor, your spouse, etc. And just keeping those lines open and being honest. I think that feels like common sense to me, Eric, but I think it can get lost in translation sometimes, right?
It certainly can. When it comes to the marketing year, the other thing I would say is another key is folks do need to give themselves a little bit of grace. I talk to a lot of producers who they just simply beat themselves up too much for not knowing the unknowable. And I think one of the other keys that I would put out here at this point is just you need to know that you don't know. Again, myself, you, all of us, if anybody could even predict the markets accurately 51% of the time, we wouldn't have to have a job and be sitting here and talking to anybody, including all the advisors and all the folks that you hear out there. So the fact is, the markets aren't predictable. It's great to have a bias. It's important to have one. It's important to listen, research, pay attention. But the fact is, you can't know the unknowable. It's hard enough to predict a range where the markets are going to be a week from now, let alone 6 months from now or a year from now.
Eric, great thoughts and insight. Before we let you go, anything else you want to share? Anything? I know Pinion as well. You guys do a lot of great work and help farmers in many different areas. Anything you want to share there, or anything else on this topic in general?
Well, I think one last thing when it comes to reducing the emotion and making marketing decisions and moving forward, I think another key, another mistake that I see a lot of folks make out there is that there are only so many tools on the risk management tool belt and marketing tool belt that you can use. And unfortunately, a lot of producers we work with, when it comes to the production side of the ag, they are on top of it from a technology standpoint. I mean, their dads and granddads and great granddads wouldn't recognize what they're doing, but a lot of them use the same marketing tools and doing the same things that their dads, their granddads, and great granddads did. And so that evolution of really looking with fresh eyes at all the tools that are out there to help you manage risk, you have to be comfortable with them. You have to be knowledgeable with them because, in many cases, some of those do work really well to help reduce that emotional um, blocking point that you have. And a lot of people, simply because they refuse to look or use those tools or had a bad experience once or twice, they've thrown them away. They don't have the ability. And so they are at a heightened emotional standpoint when they're looking at doing their marketing. So I do think being very comfortable, very knowledgeable in all those tools is critical.
That is great advice. We appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us here on the show today with that Eric Osterhaus, risk management consultant for Pinion. Great to catch up with you. Great to meet you, talk to you, and we'll look forward to hopefully doing it again in the future. Thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you.